122.
Well, Jimmy White said he was in the best form for a long, long while coming here.
I'm one of them people who I like to still think I'm 32, but I still feel very young. You know, not a lot of difference. I think I'm still just as stupid.
He's a good lad. I mean, all right, people might say he's not that dependable, you know, but you have another life to live, people, you know, and he gives a lot to snooker, and I think he's entitled to have a few days off occasionally, you know.
$125.
Only Cliff Thorburn has made this break once before at the Crucible.
Oh, professionally, you know, like where I've sort of abused myself through, you know, perhaps drinking and gambling, I could have, you know, had a lot more success. But it's, you know, it's still the fire's still there. I've still not got no concern about it. It was just, and at school I'd like to have got more educated. You know, I sort of taught myself to read in the end, and if I wrote you a letter, like there would be a few mistakes. So yeah, I regret some things like that.
The first time I was ever in the same room as Jimmy White, I still don't remember if I actually met him or not. I was playing at the Ron Gross Snooker Centre in Neasden in the London and Home Counties Junior Championships against Tony Mio. And obviously Jimmy came along to support Tony, and Jimmy had a broken leg at the time, and he was obviously a superstar. As he walked in, everybody said that's going to be one of the greatest players ever lived, proven right. And he was knocking a few balls around with his walking stick. He just had a normal old-fashioned walking stick. He was in the latter stages of recovering from a broken leg. And I'm sure he made 100 break with a walking stick. I've never known him not to be able to pop balls.
129.
Well, it's getting to me as well, but it's not too bad. He's left-handed, just stun the blue in and leave yourself just a pink to roll in, although nothing's easy now.
I think I have changed in the last sort of 5 years anyway, but I do sort of, I do slip now and again, and but the game's so much more tougher now that I just want to be, I want to be right when I arrive, and you know, and be involved in what I sort of was doing to have a look everywhere. I've done it now, you know what I mean? I'm just now, just want to play snooker.
Mercurial, enigmatic, exciting. You know, he's just similar to myself, only a younger version, obviously.
134.
He's very, very charismatic. He's a great joy for the game of snooker, if you like. Snooker is so much better for him being involved. And, you know, the majority of people who watch the sport love to see him play because he gets on with it. Very exciting to watch. He's certainly helped by the fact he's a left-hander as well.
No, there's not. They say there's a fine line, isn't there, between genius and cranky. I don't know about that one.
£100,000 for Jimmy White if he can knock the pink and black in.
My Jimmy is, he's been a boy. My Jimmy has played for £1,000. £1,000 when he was 14 or 15 years of age, you know, and he's just so beautiful, you know what I mean? He's so lovely.
He's been a little devil. He's not all beautiful. Don't worry about that.
To me, he is anyhow.
Oh, he's not.
To me, he's good to me. He's good to all of us, you know that.
He's a little devil sometimes.
Little devil.
Quite magnificent. Jimmy White creates history at the Crucible Theatre. A magnificent 147. Tony Drago hugs in. The frame score doesn't really matter, but it's Jimmy White who takes the frame before the mid-session interval. You asked me about Jimmy White, an extraordinary talent. Not seen, I suppose, since the great days of Joe Davis and Horace Lindrum. I remember Jimmy, as a youngster, so often reminded me of Horace Lindrum. He's got that cheeky, boyish face. An extraordinary skill with an ordinary piece of wood, I suppose you'd say. Everybody knows that he's played truant from school. His only education was the billiard room. I suppose geometry was the angles on the table. His reading was the game of snooker, and his arithmetic was adding up the breaks he was making. Writing never came into it. But that's Jimmy White.
It all began here in the slightly less glamorous surroundings of Zan's Billiard Hall, Tooting, the snooker club that was to become his second home. The general public perception of the game as a sure sign of a misspent youth, an opinion incidentally that still exists in certain circles today, had been nurtured by decades of dark, dingy doorways, leading into places that any law-abiding parent would discourage their child from ever visiting. But it was exactly here that a slip of a lad discovered and developed a talent that was to delight the world and destroy his education.
Well, yeah, because I was never in the classroom in the end. I was just, I was in here from about 11 till about 15, really, 4 years.
At that time, he was a very likeable young man, nice personality, good sense of humour, who just wasn't putting in the time in school.
When I was playing truant from school, and I come in here for about 6 months, just basically to get out of the rain, because the doors used to be open, there used to be no such thing as memberships in them days. And table 9, which is down there in the corner, we used to sort of hide in there from people like school board people and things like that, or police would come in, and if you had a blazer on, they'd sling you out. And I was down there, and then one day, one of my mates, Colin Prisk, he had, I think he had about 2 or 3 quid of them, and we just decided to play snooker. And I think from that moment on, I fell in love with the game. Simple as that, and for about 18 months I played. My highest weight was 25. I just used to pop balls. I had no idea. I didn't get taught or nothing. And it went from playing 2 or 3 times a week to playing, every day, 8-10 hours a day.
I worry about my Jimmy, not only as snooker, but I worry about him as a boy. I've always worried about him. The environment in the snooker halls and things like that when he was very young. I always used to think it was a den of iniquity. I did. I used to go and take him out, He used to hide under the tables. Yeah. They used to say, "Here comes your mum, Jim." I used to say, "No, he's there." And yank him out. Back, I'd take him back, he'd go. And that's the way it was.
What they did, they had sort of spies on me, and they did know. My brothers were older than me. They'd pop in, and they know all the time all I was doing was playing snooker, so I wasn't getting involved in anything else. I was just in love with snooker, and that was what I was doing.
And it's just start and play all night long. Sometimes 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, Jimmy's dad, Tom, he'd be banging on the door. "Is my Jimmy in there? Is my Jimmy in there?" "No, Tom, he's not here. He's not here." "Where is he? We don't know where he is." And then he'd go away, and the following Friday it'd probably be the same thing. Anyway, Jimmy used to play there and walk out Saturday mornings with all the money.
We did used to win all the money, me and Tony Neo, but we'd be in here, for like 16 hours, and you'd just be covered in like tobacco and chalk and all green chalk all over your face. And you'd come out, and it's like this daylight would hit you. You sort of miss the daylight and go into the next night and then the daylight. And we used to get the money, but I used to put a bit back as well. So if we did send good people, we won their money and they was okay, we'd lend them like sort of 25% of their money, so they come back the next week. Sounds horrible, don't it? But that's true.
They always used to wind up with penniless, skint. Jimmy used to get the lot. In the end, they stopped him playing. He was too good.
Well, we reached a stage when I asked Jimmy just to show me how good he was, and so we both went along to his practice grounds, which is a snooker room in Tooting, and he demonstrated on the table just how good he was, and he was very good.
How is he, Mr. Beattie? You all right? Good.
I did say to him, "Yes, Jimmy, you are very, very good, but I wouldn't think of trying to make a living out of it, so you won't make any money." I think that was my quote. "You'll never make a living out of it, and there isn't any money in it anyway, so..."
Because I wasn't going into school, he made a deal with me. If I went half days, he'd let me practice, you know. So he really got a lot to do with helping my career.
I do fear that his education in those days suffered because of the amount of time he put in on this practice at snooker, but I'm quite sure he's made up for it since.
I get by. Obviously, I have not looked into any careers or anything like that, you know, but the love that snooker's given me back, you know, the feedback I've had from snooker, you know, there's nothing I could ask for more, you know. Nothing can compare with that.
What pleasure he's given, well, this world is, well, I know I'm so lucky, and that is definitely the same as his mother. The thing is that you go down the road and there's Jimmy White's dad, there's Jimmy White's mum, and they wouldn't say that if they didn't love him. And, it's beautiful. It's wonderful.
Not too long ago, we was in Victoria. There's a place we went up there to have something to eat, and this old boy, he was going on a train and he seen me. He was going to Victoria Station, he seen me, and he got out an article of a match that I played about 7 years ago, you know, and he sort of produced that, how he enjoyed that match, and it was, you know, that was fantastic.
One day, I used to have a man knock at the door for money, like everybody did in them days, got no money, plenty of children. And I said, go to the door, Jimmy, and tell him I'm not in. And I'm going into the coal cellar. So he went to the door and he said to the man, my mum's not in. So he said, well, when will she be back? He said, wait a minute, I'll go and ask her.
They are justifiably proud parents, and his former teacher was naturally unable to foresee that Jimmy's rapid rise from obscurity would virtually coincide with snooker's emergence as a major television sport as he captured the World Amateur crown in Tasmania in 1980. He overwhelmed Australia's Ron Atkins 10 frames to 2 to become, at 17, the youngest ever champion, and even in hindsight, it was apparent that here was a raw but special talent. He's remembered from those early days, and by some from even earlier times.
Winning in Australia, I was speaking to some person the other week, and they said I should have turned pro. I could have turned pro, because in them days, to turn professional, you had to sort of grovel to the board members, or you had to win the English amateurs or the world amateurs. And I won the English, and being English, I wanted to go and win the world amateurs in Tasmania, and I waited 2.5 years when I could have been in 2 world championships. But not to worry.
James Warren White was born on the 2nd of May 1962, a date that coincides each and every year with the final of the World Snooker Championship. Is it a date with destiny, or a date destined to deliver annual disappointment? Only time will tell. But if public opinion was to be used as a barometer, then there could be no doubt about the answer.
I think he's brilliant and I want to play like him.
He knows a lot of famous people now, but he still likes the same local pubs. He's still got the same friends he was at school with, and he hasn't changed a bit.
I don't really want to change. I mean, I'm quite happy as I am.
A great flair for the game, great character. He's just a brilliant player.
Good. It's like excellent. Marvellous. He's brilliant.
Brilliant player. Should win the World Championship next year, I hope.
One of the letters I had, which was great, they showed me photos as well. The guy, when I lost to Stephen in one of the finals, he kicked his telly in, took all pictures of the television. He said, I was skint. He said, now I'm really skint. I haven't even got a TV. Which I felt a bit sorry for that guy.
Oh, tremendous player. Probably the best player with the most natural talent ever.
I think that he's just a natural, and he's just Jimmy.
I've been favourite player, always has been.
Very good player. Nice player to sort of model other players on, young players. His sportsmanship and general behaviour when he's playing.
For me, one of the greatest talents ever born in the game. A brilliant player and a gentleman.
I played in the leisure centre, and there was like grown people, you know, adult people as well. They was all chasing me up the road. You know, I just won a tournament a couple of nights before, and that was, you know, that really hit home that these people just wanted to be really close to you. That did. It was nice, but a little bit frightening as well.
His contribution, merely 2 years after turning professional, scaled new heights one evening in Sheffield, when he and a certain opponent by the name of Alex Hurricane Higgins contested a match that most observers considered to be one of the greatest matches ever seen.
So Alex breathes again.
I can't remember too much about the early part of the match, but when we come to the crunch part of it, when Jimbo was 15-14 in front and 50 or 52 points in front, he made a blunder which is reminiscent of a couple of blunders that he's made 12 years later, i.e. the black he missed against Henry, I think it was. He rushed into it, and with me back in '82, when he was 50 all in front, I think it was a shot with a rest, and he just steamed into it without thinking, and he missed it. And of course, I managed to do that famous break, but I think that match was the World Championship final in itself, because I've no doubts that had Jimmy have beaten me, he would have gone on to beat Ray Reardon.
Who knows what would have happened if Jimmy White had played Ray Reardon? But I sense that possibly Jimmy White would have been the youngest ever world champion and may then have gone on to greater things.
They say Reardon was past his best. Who knows? You know, he might have had the game to tie me up at the time, you know, because all I was just potting balls. So, you know, I didn't really have the experience then.
So Jimmy White concedes. And what a splendid finish. And a truly, truly superb semi-final. So the People's player now has a chance to really be the People's champion.
He just won the World Championships in '82, and we went to Ireland for a tour about 2 months after, and this promoter ran off with all the money, and the police come and everything, but the guy who was driving us in this big American like house thing, he knew the law, and he took Higgins' World Cup trophy, and he said, I'm keeping the trophy till I get my £400 for the journey. So now we're trapped in Ireland, we can't escape, we've got no money, and this guy's got got Higgins' trophy, and the television come, like local news and all that, and Higgins went on the camera, and he turned around and he said, well, in '66 a dog nicked the World Cup then. He said, now a dog's nicked my cup now.
2 years later, and two snooker stars who, if possible, took their sport on to an even higher plane on a memorable evening at Wembley. Jimmy, and on centre stage, Canada's Kirk Stevens.
Well, not quite far enough.
122.
So this demands a really good shot.
Yes, he's got to pot the green this time, I think, go all the way around the table. So the angle is there, but he'll need just a little bit of luck to get onto the brown to enable him to get back on the blue.
Just look at this. Stop. And it has. It is almost perfect. And just look at the audience. They're enraptured with this.
125.
And young Kirk will need nerves of steel now. Not quite right on the blue.
I was willing Kirk to do it. I'm a good friend of Kirk's, and it was a bit of a shock, really, because we were still involved in the match. And even though he got the 147 and he got, you know, in Wembley as well, which is the second, in my opinion, the second best tournament, he's got the 147, but I'm still interested in winning the match.
No, he didn't quite go far enough on the blue, and now
134.
this is a big shot that's coming up. And he would like to just come another couple of inches to make it easier to cue that.
for White. This is where he wants a little bounce off the cushion. Well, they're cheering, but it isn't there yet. And a little pause, composure.
140.
Get in! Lovely! Super! Oh, that's really wonderful. Just look at that. Good heavens above, Rex. Isn't that marvellous?
That was fantastic. A wonderful break, Jack. Really magnificent. I'm so pleased for Kirk Stevens. Tremendous.
That come over and we had a little hug and he went mad with the referee. But I come out and won the next frame and won the match. So, you know, it was great to see him do it. Fantastic. As soon as someone gets over 64 when you can't win, you want them to do it.
Well, this is magic. Both players. What a pity that one has to lose. And Kirk, I'm sure, slightly disappointed, but will be the first to congratulate. And just look at the stuff on that ball. Well, that really is wizardry. Well, words escape me. Just fantabulous.
I used to play a lot of them flare shots all the time when the frame is won, but I try not to do it too much now because you do knock bits of your tips out. And I just put a load of screw with left-hand side, and it hit this side cushion, hit that cushion, and check perfect for the black. You know, so it looks good. But once you got the power into the screw, once it hits this cushion, I know when it hits that cushion, it's just going to drag up anyway. It's not going to go anywhere.
He spent most of his life flying close to the wind. But then that, in essence, is part of Jimmy White's love affair with the snooker public. A whirlwind romance no more passionate anywhere than at Sheffield's Crucible Theatre. A few days away from the bays are a suitable time, and this snooker's spiritual home, a suitable place for the sport's greatest talent to reflect on those moments of personal heartache. Not surprisingly, he remembers each one as if they occurred last night. In his dreams, they probably did.
The trophy is the thing. The money, in life, money just gives you a bit of choice. That's all. The trophy's the main boss.
He was a long, long way away from that one.
Yes, he got rather impatient there. And this is probably the best chance Steve's going to have. Not an easy green, but should he get it, must finish on the brown.
Jimmy sees the championship now drifting away from him.
Quiet, please.
Seven.
A great champion. He is achieving what nobody else has done before. A great performance then by Steve Davis, defending his title and winning it for a second time here at the Crucible Theatre to win the Embassy World Snooker Championship 1984.
Nugget was at his best, I think. Yeah. But the people, you know, to say that, you know, that was one of my best chances as well. But, you know, that was a great match to be involved in. You know, I was obviously disappointed, but, you know, loving the game so much, you know, you get over it quite quick.
If you look at his record, he's one of the great match players of our time. And the fact that he's failed at the last hurdle on a few occasions doesn't take anything away from, I think, his great all-round ability at the game now, and also his great temperament and match play.
Jimmy White has lost in 3 semi-finals. Now he's lost in 2 finals.
61.
Tried to develop the red from the side cushion.
69.
But the other one went anyway. And with that break of 71, Stephen Hendry brings a great championship to an end. He has beaten Jimmy White by 18 frames to 12 to become the youngest ever champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Wimbledon final, your appreciation please for both players, Jimmy White and Stephen Hendry.
I think he just out-potted me that year. I think he was all over me, really, like a rash.
Well, the first time I played him was in the Lang Scottish Masters. That was the first time I'd ever qualified to play in an event with all the other top players, and he whitewashed me 5-0. Basically, I was just sat in my chair in awe of Jimmy. You know, I was watching him thinking, my God, I'm playing Jimmy White.
Fantastic player, fantastic kid as well. Well, he's a young man now, but you know, the best plain ball potter the game has ever seen, and. In the balls, his cue ball control, you know, just an outstanding snooker player.
So it was my first appearance in a world final. I'd just beaten John Parrott to get to #1 in the world rankings, so I was over the moon with that. And when I was in the final, I was so relaxed in that final that I didn't feel any nerves whatsoever, and I just really played great snooker.
Of course, the problem is not just getting the snookers, but getting them where your opponent can't hit them. And that is the shot that's going to finish this championship.
And John Parrott's waited a long time for this. He's suffered some defeats and disappointments on the way, but finally the whirlwind Jimmy White concedes to John Parrott, and a very deserving champion. John Parrott wins the Embassy World Championship, 18 frames to 11.
Come out, Parrott. He went 7-0 up. I don't even think he even missed a safety shot, let alone a pot. You know, he played superb snooker, and I was always chasing from then on.
John Parrott wins the Embassy World Championship, 18 frames to 11.
I was playing the best snooker in my life for the whole fortnight there. I just had confidence brimming from every pore in my body. I just felt so good about being there for that fortnight. And really, Jimmy has made the quote. He said that people just keep playing tremendously well against him in finals, and that's the best I've ever played. Consistently through a tournament, I was just striking the ball so well, and I felt so confident. I really didn't think there was anybody good enough to beat me that week.
I don't sit and brood on it. You know what I mean? It's gone. It's gone. You know, a couple of hours, it's gone. You do get a bit, if you've caused to lose by playing bad or missing easy shots, then that does stay with you for a little while. But if you've, some guys played very well, then you don't, you know, it's not too much to handle.
Ridiculous though it seems, Jimmy only managed to score 80 points in those first 7 frames. So, I mean, for somebody of his calibre, obviously his opponent was playing well, and that's the best I've ever played in my life. And I just managed to nurse the lead, and I got home 18-11. But, you know, once again, he got somebody playing exceptionally well. And, you know, it can't always continue. If he keeps playing and getting to finals, somebody will obviously dip on the form.
13th frame, Tony Drago to break.
Well, took a bit of a flyer at that one.
One. Eight. Nine. $16. 17. 24. 25. 32. 33.
But going into the pack really gives Jimmy an opportunity of making a big
40.
break. Red split very nicely.
Yes, and I think the fact that he did go into the back.
41.
This is all reds, all black so far.
$48.
Doesn't look too happy. Might have just run a little bit too far. He might be able to bend it a little bit of side. She's
49.
done. So I don't think Jimmy at the moment has got anything in his sights but the maximum.
$56. 57. 64.
Just a little short of pace to be ideal to stay on the black. And as John
65.
says, that's what Jimmy's thinking about, all reds, all blacks. Being much easier to play for the blue.
$72. 73.
In the British Open this year, Tony Drago was sat down while James Watanabe made a 147. Can history repeat itself? Needs a bit of luck. It's not bad. What a marvellous shot with the rest that was.
88. 89.
Is he covered on both reds? Or will that red just pot? If it does, he'll have to just drop it in and leave himself a difficult black.
Four.
The crowd have been aware for some moments now what was in Jimmy's mind.
He needs an angle desperately on this red, and I think he's got it.
$113.
Perfect.
$122.
Well, Jimmy White said he was in the best form for a long, long while coming here.
$125.
Only Cliff Thorburn has made this break once before at the Crucible.
$129.
Well, it's getting to me as well, but it's not too bad. He's left-handed, just stun the blue in and leave yourself just a pink to roll in, although nothing's easy now.
134.
£100,000 for Jimmy White if he can knock the pink and black in.
No, we had the interval straight after, and I was phoning people up. I got the mobile phone, and we must have made about 20 phone calls. And all going, we've seen it, you know. It was just one fantastic feeling, you know. To get like a 147 in your career, especially at Sheffield, it's a marvellous thing to have in the bag. The way I've always played the game, I attack the game, and I think people get to like that. I take a lot of chances on shots that cost me games, cost me matches, but if I win, they seem, you know, it's an extra sort of buzz for me and the public. So, you know, I do have a great following from fans. I appreciate that.
To watch that break again makes it all the more difficult to try to explain why one of the greatest exponents in the history of his sport has never captured the ultimate prize.
A sad picture.
$92. $94. $97.
Stephen Hendry, world's #1 star, completing 10 frames. Capacity crowd here at the Crucible Theatre in Sheffield for this final.
106.
As Stephen goes out in a blaze of glory, he becomes the 1992 Embassy World Champion for a second time as Jimmy steps forward to shake his hand. And what a miraculous performance by a 23-year-old boy from Scotland, with victory at 18 frames to 14 after 10 consecutive victories in frames.
I was 14. I was 14-8 up. I should have easily been 15-7 up. But again, Stephen come out and played an absolute blinder. He won the first 4 frames to go 14 each, and in the last 4 frames I didn't get a shot really. I didn't get a shot.
I played very good snooker. I made 3 centuries and missed very little after that.
I think Jimmy has just been a little bit unfortunate. In the early 80s he met Davis, who was, well, just dictating the game, stopped him from playing his natural game with his safety play. Always felt he had more ability than Steve Davis, although Steve Davis would probably be a better all-round player. Then, of course, he meets a phenomenon in Stephen Hendry, whose match play temperament is probably the best I've ever seen.
One has to feel a little sorry for Jimmy White. He really hasn't been able to do a deal about this.
45. $48.
I think the audience are really a little dumbfounded. Because they've been shocked by this, and delighted, of course, by this wonderful snooker from Stephen.
58. 62.
It's well done, Stephen, and bad luck, Jimmy.
69.
So Stephen Hendry finishes off as he started, a really magnificent finish. We couldn't have a better champion. The 1993 Embassy World Champion, Stephen Hendry, wins 18 frames to 5.
Again, I had a terrible season and got to the final playing very bad snooker. I had one good session in the whole tournament when I beat Watana. But apart from that, to this day now, it's a miracle how I got to the final. I just was playing very bad.
$29. Jimmy White, 29.
Well, did he see the title there, Dennis?
Dear me, that was just a little bit of tension. But everybody's tense.
Because we're all under pressure, all the adrenaline's pumping and everything. I think I just rushed, you know, like I flew out of my chair and I potted 2 reds, 2 colours, and I just, all of a sudden, I just missed the black. I really don't know. That's like part of why the game's so fascinating.
He actually just threw his arm at the black, and that's why he actually missed the shot. It wasn't a cool, calculated shot, just playing the black for safety. He actually threw his arm right at it.
He's never been that near. And they
Yes,
said
that
to me,
was
if you
near.
all go in that door, as soon as he pots the black ball and it's all over, they said, you won't get crushed. And everybody was cheering, come on, Jim, come on, Jim. I had all my family there, we all went to the door and then all of a sudden
They're
it went...
always there. They're always there.
And that was it. He'd lost it again.
Well, it's...
The point is, what does he feel? What must he feel? He doesn't show it, but what must he feel?
If I lost to a tosser, I'd like be sick. You know, he's an excellent snooker player. You know, if I beat him in a tournament, you know, it's gone with him within a couple of hours. You know, it's the same with me. You know, he's a quality player. You travel so much. You know, you might not be thinking you're being sort of uncalm or doing wrong things when you are. When all you're doing is just what you do anyway. You know, if you go to a hotel and you're up late, things like that, people go, you know, but I don't think that's the case with me. I think travelling, you know, it's given me the opportunity to see you know, most of the world and to meet all different types of people and basically meet people who appreciate snooker, you know, which is a game I love. So, you know, and it's given me some money, you know, but the great gift it's given me is the travelling, I think. I think I'd retire when I'm 40, you know. I don't want to play after 40. I might play, you know, people can say that, because snooker you can go on. I'd like to be still involved in the sport, but I don't think I'd like to travel after 40. Who knows, you know, who knows? I might have some snooker clubs, things like that. No idea. I'd just like to have my own time then.
Come next May, will Jimmy White be cast once again in the role of Best Supporting Player? Or will the gods finally smile on James Warren White?
You know, I'd like to not just win it once, I'd like to win it 2 or 3 times. I know it might sound selfish after being in 6 finals, but, you know, I've had such a bad season last year and I got to the final and I missed an easy black, otherwise I'd been world champion. So it just gives me all the confidence I need to just go again. I definitely do think I'll win the World Championships.
He's already won it. He's won it. He can't win no more as a guy, so you know what I mean? No way. No way. He's already won that world title. To me, he has, anyhow.
I'd still like to see him hold the cup up, and I'm sure he would.
It would be nice to have it legal.
I think Jimmy's just unique as a person and a player. You know, there's nobody like him, and nobody plays the game like Jimmy.
Oh, we'd have a party to win parties.
That would never end.
We always have a party, even if he loses.
Personally, I think he can win it. You know, there's no doubt in his own mind he can win it. And I mean, how close can you get to be beaten in the final frame, 18-17? So I do think he will win it, but it's, you know, he's certainly making a very, very hard job of it for himself. I think it gets harder for us all, but certainly from Jimmy White's point of view, to come so close and then not to win it on many occasions, the barrier intensifies. The amount of good players around that are capable of beating each other increases, and I say it starts to become doubtful as the years go on.
Well, I didn't know anything about snooker. When they said frame, I thought that was it, the game was over. In the beginning. But it fascinates me now, he is a marvellous player.
All right, people say Jimmy doesn't lead this right sort of lifestyle to keep doing it, but he's done it for the last 5 years. Who's to say next year he can't do it? And if he does, I for one will be at the top of the crucible shouting my head off, because I'll be really pleased.
There's definitely a world championship in him, but the thing is that sometimes the harder you force, the harder you make it for yourself. And I think maybe at times he tries too hard.
Oh, the governor. To me, to me, Jimmy, well, where it comes from, you know what I mean, he's just out of the ordinary. But he's so loving with it. He's so, well, he's on his own. He's on his own. Ask all the other stars. Ask them. Ask their fathers, they tell me.
My dad, you know, like he's such, he comes with me so much and to all the tournaments and all that, you know, obviously gets very disappointed. He goes to bed when I get beat, you know what I mean? He's like that type of character. Not a bad loser, just, you know, because it means so much to me. It would just be fantastic just to prove, you know, there's a few toss-pots in the game who don't think I can win it. It'd be nice to stick it down their throat, even though they don't really bother me. But I've got the game, and this is the place, and I will win it here.